Welcome back, OGN Legion to LCK Spring 2018, and Jin Greenwings have done it. They brought us to our third game. 30 games, the dream is still alive for our friend Papa Smithy. And man, Jin actually making it look pretty clean towards the end there. There was one Wombo team fight. We knew what Afreeca's comp was supposed to do, but from then on, it just didn't happen.
Just ran out of oomph. You know, the freight train that they largely did draft when the Nocturne came in just went off the rails a little bit too early. They made that mistake around the gangplank and bot side, and then the items kept rolling in for the Xayah. The answer was always there, and we saw it clear on the screen. MVP from Game 2 will be Grace in the mid lane. Great positioning on the Weaver's wall, but no deaths, and just a great involvement in the game, even if it wasn't always in terms of kill participation.
Yeah, 7-0-5, ridiculously good score, and sometimes these Weaver's walls don't give you all of those options, as this was the Afreeca Freecs finding, like we say, you know, they found the Wombo combo, but it just wasn't quite enough.
It's what happened when the Wombo combo didn't work and the Gangplank lived. He could teleport to the Baron. They picked that one up pretty cleanly. Tucson tries to go in, but Smite is on point from this time from Skarner. Obviously having an improved performance in Game 2 as well. And
oh man, the flanking Grace as well.
And you just can't piece together dive either. That's the problem, is that when you go for this very heavily backline dive comp, if one of the ults is not up, or if one of the ults is mispositioned, it just doesn't really do a whole hell of a lot, and that was the issue that Afreeca Freecs had. Again, the analogy I used was playing with their food. It definitely felt like that.
Yeah, and you saw that. The threaded volley was doing so much work. After the Rabadon's Deathcap Morello's combo came in with the Seraphs, he was just all of the damage, all of the time. They didn't care about Kuro getting a 3-man taunt because nobody else was there, because the Weaver's wall was in position.
By the end, the full damage Nocturne jumps in to die instantly, and it doesn't matter what happens. They're going to be outnumbered. But some items onto Kramer, and you were baited into thinking that Kramer could carry this fight, but someone said, I'm just going to end the game.
Yep, just didn't do quite enough damage, and that wasn't actually the point, as there were just too many minions destroying the Nexus. So Grace going to be able to grab it, but you can hear the music.
It's got to be Spirit time, surely.
Yep, I'm feeling a bit spirited at the moment. We'll see whether that's going to be the only change, as Kramer might be stepping out as well, but nope, no more Mowgli. Spirit will be making his way in. A lot of Sejuani in the history, but we know that Spirit has the biggest depths of champion pool, and it makes sense because all 5 of the bans from Jin last game were junglers.
He's definitely pulled away from being a hipster. 5-0 on the Sejuani, 4-0 on Jarvan. He's been largely cementing himself on a few champions, probably the best Camille we have in the league as well.
Yeah.
Rather than playing the field, which is what he was doing with one-offs, including a Poppy jungle about a month ago. More playing the meta stuffs, but you're right. If there is a super pinch, if they need to go elsewhere, this man can play Nunu, this man can bring out stuff you haven't even seen. And Solo Q playing plenty of the Nocturne, but I ignored that because we're on patch 8.4, and it was Mowgli. But
yeah.
Rises abandoned us.
Yeah, you were talking about the Nunu. I'm looking for the Lulu, Papa Smithy. You know, Spirit can do basically anything, turns everyone into a jungler, and here we are into Champion Select. We'll see whether he's going to be targeted or whether Jin says, well, we may as well focus elsewhere because his Ocean is not something that we really want to get rid of.
Sion was the first ban in Game 1. Back on the blue side, Sion goes again. Nice knowing you.
Yep, Sion was banned last in Game 1 and now first. Last in Game 2 and first in Game 1, so we're back to first. It's Olaf once again, going to be the same one. We're running it back so far here for both of the teams. As Sejuani against Spirit does make sense. You mentioned the 5-0, so just stop that from being an option.
Probably not going to want to ban any of Xayah and Rakan, given how much value it found for Jin in Game 1. Was a Rakan ban in Game 1.
Yeah, a little bit more difficult here for Jin though, because if they pick the Xayah, we know that they can just be split up.
Not usually, but you're right. There is the outside chance it happens. We saw it recently, so you have to pay it a bit more lip service. Wait for the final ban from Jin, and it will just be the same. So they roll back Rakan, Sejuani, and Sion in slightly different order.
Yeah, messing up the order just a little bit, which is a little bit bothersome, but that's okay. Final ban. Should be the Cho'Gath if Afreeca want to do exactly the same thing yet again.
I'd like to see a Taliyah ban, or potentially looking at the Skarner. See what that means, because you don't really respect playing Zac, so you don't think it's going to be selected.
Ooh, the Caitlyn respect ban coming in from Afreeca, assuming that Jin would have changed their mind from the Skarner to move over to the lane control pick of the Caitlyn.
Means Tristana value definitely does jump up. Galio was just ignored in Game 1. will be taken by the side of Jin Air in game number 3. Grace 2-0 on the Galio this season, so it hasn't been a bad pick for them by any means. Does allow them to double down on a comp around their AD carry as well.
And Spirit wanting to try out the Skarner for himself. Did work out for Umti in game number 2. It was pretty awful in game number 1, so Feast or Famine is a little Scorpion, and he is going to be picked up.
Does represent a true takeaway, though, from the side of Afreeca, because like we say, we haven't seen a single game of Zach from Umti, and doesn't seem to fit his playstyle either.
Oh, love that. Pick the Tahm Kench with the Skarner to deny the Impale denial.
But don't worry, Umti was instantly there with his own Nocturne hover.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, Mowgli's sitting backstage going, oh, come on, guys. I'm already copying enough on the internet right now.
He's probably turned the internet off for now.
That's probably a good idea.
No kind words from Mowgli. Probably.
You can turn the internet
I
off.
hope not. We're trying to broadcast here, Atlas.
Exactly. Well, that's going to be the Camille combo coming in for Jin Air. Haven't seen this for a long time. Often, people put a lot of effort into denying the Camille and the Galio.
What does this mean for Tristana, who is sticking out a little bit in terms of AD carries that are available?
Well, Zaya Rakan also the options in Afreeca. They'd love to be able to pick an AD carry and then ban away all of the others and make Jin Air search for it, but it's going to be the Alistar to make sure that Wraith has a lot of engage. His Alistar, especially earlier in the season, did look fantastic.
And this is definitely Jin Air looking to get married. They're very committed here. The most commitment from Jin Air on the engage.
Yep, I love it. Start of the bouncy castle. They still do have a Zac if they want to put the Camille on the top side, but valuing the flex.
Usually take your mid laner here to answer because of bans coming through, but a flex gangplank is enacted. We've seen mid lane gangplank a couple of times in history in the LCK, specifically against the Galio, so I like the fact that it's a flex pick, because now as a Jin Air, you're like, wait, what do we ban? Which role?
Yeah.
AD carries would be a safe one. Are we going to pinch far enough to see the super hype ones? Looking like no.
No. Vladimir is going to be taken away from Soan, though. Or Grace, theoretically, but the Azir also pinched from Kuro, thinking that that will be the top lane gangplank. An understandable choice, as Keen been experimental with his gangplank stop. Stuck with the Kleptomancy a few times, but also has tried Grasp of the Undying just to go for a little bit more of a tanky laning focus on the gangplank, which did actually work, but it was a few patches ago.
See the Jarvan ban? There is a real chance that Umti plays the jungle Camille. Didn't look good from him most recently, but previously has been next to Spirit, one of our best jungle Camille players.
I was going to mention that when you were talking about Spirit, but then remembered that there have been some failings for Umti in the recent past. Talia finally going to go, but it's Jin Air that get rid of it.
Rise is still open for Afreeca Freecs. That would be the top lane Rise and the mid lane gangplank, you would imagine.
I think that AD carry is going to be the priority here, though. Is it better to get a priority AD carry and then counterpick for mid lane, something like that?
The weird thing is, who is the priority AD carry? Because Tristana, based on power level, would represent that as, all right,
okay.
We're going to have a mid lane Anivia against Galio. That seems risky because Hextech Ultimatum and the Hero's Entrance will squish the Anivia pretty good.
Liandry's Torment, though, is mega value against the old health stacking, I guess, theoretically. It's going to come in pretty late after the mana items, but Teddy thinking about an Ezreal, as Zac still an option.
Man.
This is the most jump on top of you.
You definitely want Ezreal here for the, well, I know where you guys are going. I'm going to be all alone situation they've got going on.
Yep, Teddy's going to need to be self-sufficient, to say the least. And look at him, he's looking at his team comp going, oh, guys, you're just going to leave me alone, aren't you?
And Ezreal will be the safe choice. You could also try and roll high and take a super hyper carry. They're going to just take the Tristana for damage potential, mostly, you would say. Does have self-peel similar to the Ezreal, but not quite as reliable.
Yeah, slightly higher cooldown.
I don't know how you round out this draft on red side, actually. For Afreeca, maybe an Ashe. You could argue for some engage of your own. The Jinx is locked! All right!
Here we go. We just recently saw a pentakill on the Jinx, I believe in Brazil a while ago. But, man, okay, Kramer is going to be the first one to play it. You don't think of his name when you think of the Jinx. You think of Defts, things like that, but it's Kramer that's going to debut it here in 2018.
Seems like the diplomacy on the side of Afreeca just got thrown out. Everyone got to play what they wanted, and, well, Kramer asked for Jinx. He gets it. The first Jinx of 2018 in the LCK, the first Jinx in a long time. We're rolling out the new picks. The Jinx comes in. Well, you
the
better
classic Jinx Anivia comp, Papa Smithy.
I mean, you gotta say that the ultimatum means certain death for Anivia and Jinx if they are gonna be the targets there. Tahm Kench is gonna have to do a whole hell of a lot of work to stop that happening. A lot of smiles on the faces, laughter as well. A lot of new picks going on, but Jinner's comp has a true identity. And the Tristana laning phase is not going to be abused by the Jinx.
Yeah, well, Spirit looks like he's having the absolute best time possible. Didn't have to be in game number 2. So we do go down this lineup. Starts off pretty standard on the top side of the map and in the jungle, but then things just get weird from that point on. This Anivia matchup in the mid lane.
First Anivia for the season, first Jinx for the season, first Nocturne for the season. Weird and Wonderful has been our first series, and we still have KT versus Kingzone. After the series is over, the Jinx has been one we've asked for a long time, been banned a couple of times, but first time it's drafted. Does have the Tahm Kench, but surely that's not going to be enough against Jinner's Engage.
Yeah, and with the changes to Jinx as well, still wasn't enough to let us see her until now. But guys, let's do it. Game number 3, the deciding match between Afreeca and Jinner right now. Okay, Rainbow Bird for Kuro here as well. Exciting stuff. Okay. How is Kramer going to play this one out? How long ago was it that you last spoke about the Tristana Jinx matchup, Papa Smithy?
You know, maybe never. Maybe 2015 LPL?
Potentially.
It's about the last time I can think Jinx got a decent run. Deft was undefeated on at Korea for a very long time, you'll remember.
Oh yeah,
that was snapped
stats continued to be huge in the LPL.
That was snapped in summer of 2015. There's a Spirit fan coming over from China. Well, Spirit had his time in China in 2015, like we mentioned, on Team WE at the time.
Yep.
It's such a weird Anivia pick, because the laning phase will be fine in the early game. The gank assistance on the Galio maybe going to be a factor. And let's give a bit of a leash over to the Skarner. My issue is you think of why Anivia is usually picked, and it's things like the wall and the utility it provides. Whole lot of people that can ignore walls on the side of Jinner.
Yeah, you can see what the comp is trying to do, right? You impale someone in, you trap them in there with the wall. That makes some sense. But when you look over the side of Jinner, like, it's just not really going to work there, which is partially the problem, is Grace. That's casual.
Yeah, he spots actually the red buff take, and why not throw in a Q?
Well, he's going to at least get a Q over the top. There's now Kuro. Oh, these auto attacks. That hurts.
No more AD runes, so Froggen style is not going to get you lots of autos.
One of the most difficult auto animations in the game as well. I don't know how Froggen does it.
With a plot.
He does. He's very, very good.
Was very highly rated in Korea, of course. It hit, I don't know what his peak was. It might have been rank 6. I saw rank 9, but it was very, very high on Korean solo queue. And there's plenty of Anivia, as you would imagine. And Kramer's on the Jinx. That, you know, we were hyped when we saw the changes a little bit earlier in the patch 8 patch cycle a few patches ago, but no sighting of the Jinx. Now, when she gets excited, she no longer has to interact with the attack speed cap, so she can get very, very excited indeed. A true KT Rolster pick, if there ever was one.
Getting even more excited.
She gets tremendously excited, and you can very commonly see things like triple zeal items on the Jinx to get the most value out of that passive. So your item build on Jinx can be a bit different because you're not constrained by the traditional things that AD carries have to deal with.
Yeah, it's most likely that we are going to see something like the Static Shiv Infinity Edge into Rapid Fire Cannon. Then from there, how much more attack speed are you going to build? As it was 2017 the last time we saw the Anivia, and Ian didn't quite find the victory on it.
There's been a couple of Anivia weeks, because you remember there was also Anivia into Vlad was a thing.
Okay, well, teleport from Jinner. They're looking for Keen up here towards the top side of the map. He's going to get bumped into the tower. Azumti's going to go down to his passive at least. They grab the first blood, but what more can they find? As now Sohan and Grace are in a little bit of trouble. The flash from Kuro, another one that's a bit confusing, but he's just going to go down. Crystal Slash, fantastic at dealing with the Zac. And that wall placement made up for the interesting stun from earlier. And Spirit's having the greatest start ever on the Skarner.
That was sick there. Very well done. The flash over to first get the kill onto the Bloblets. And then the wall, and look who's
Teleport.
coming.
Yep, there's no flash available for Grace either. Justice Punch ain't going to do anything. He's not going to give up without a fight, but he's still going to die. And Kuro grabs that one. A disaster for Jin Air.
That was the most creative turnaround we've seen on a pylon top lane in a long time. The Anivia roam at level 4 somehow was most powerful, because right now Anivia is next to the Spire. She's well out of this fight. They go for the dive, and the juggle does end up throwing the Bloblets, and you think, okay, with the Bloblets, I'll get away from this. Kuro flashes over.
Oh, for the Bloblets,
yes,
of course.
That is why he went for that. They get the next kill. Turning on to Sowan with the wall. Beautifully done by Kuro. We talked about wall value. Turns out when all the abilities are on long cooldowns and at level 1, then a lot of value there. And maybe it won't matter that they've gotten creative 2 games in a row, because look at this. They're suddenly in a 3-1 kill lead and 1,200 gold as well.
Yeah, just disgusting. And I owe Kuro an apology as well. I'm sorry, guys. He was going for the Bloblets with his Q, making sure that they could get that one down, and Spirit finished that one off.
And you best believe he's going for the MVP as well, with pulling back the Anivia. When you go shiny and you bring something new, or I guess old is new in this case, definitely do endear yourself to the voters.
Is that why Kramer decided to pick the Jinx? He's like, no. I'm going for Tucson to try and get that MVP.
Could be.
Tucson back on the Tahm Kench, and he got the MVP in game number 1. See whether he can make something happen. So far in the early game, there's going to be 2 hyper carries scaling up alongside one another in Teddy and Kramer.
No direct Anivia changes in recent memory, but the Archangel's line being buffed is going to be another champion that can be brought into the meta. We saw Cassiopeia top, we see plenty of Ryze, and the Anivia is also another one. We're short of the AP Cogmore, but it feels like every other tier abuser is getting their time on the Rift.
Well, Spirit, he's going to make his way in and so on. He's got a ward, but it doesn't seem to matter.
Level
this is
6.
A Turbo Scorpion. He's going to stop the hook shot, gets the Impale.
He's higher level than his top laner.
Yeah, this is disgusting. That's what happens when you start at 2-0 and so on. No options. He's just dead. He was trying to use the flash. He just didn't have the option.
Well, that's what we call an experience lead. Bot lane, all you're going to get is a bit of damage, because the Devour is available for Tucson.
Yep, Kramer using the upgraded switcheroo as well. That was the other change for the Jinx. Just feels a lot better to switch between your weapons now. Much cleaner. Not going to be canceling all those autos like a lot of us who played Jinx earlier were feeling.
Again, anyone who's played the Jinx felt the clunkiness of changing form, and it feels like you're kind of self-stunned for a second trying to find your first rocket. Now no longer that is there. A lot of attack speed on the Q, but because she breaks the attack speed cap, there's a whole lot going on there in terms of interactions. Yeah, Triple Zeal, very real chance we'll see that earlier than expected rather than just a 6-item no boots build.
Yep, so far farming out very nicely is Kramer. Kuro has hit that level 6 where that Glacial Storm is just going to be able to clear out minions as quickly as you like. We all remember back from when Anivia was played all the time. So the fact that you just couldn't push in on turrets because there were never any minions.
Maybe you go Abyssal Mask as a second item just to deal with some of the squishiness of Anivia and the pylon that Umti wants to enact.
Yeah, Elastic Slingshot is going to come in, gets the boot back onto Tucson, but remember, he's very durable. The Grey Health held onto for such a long time, but the hero's entrance comes down and Umti should be able to get it. Teddy's handed the kill. Red buff enough to get the slow for the auto from the Triss.
And in all the craziness of the second round, we forget that it is Umti's first game on the ZAC, I believe, ever, because it's never fit his playstyle. He is known for taking combat junglers like the Kha'Zix rather than something like the ZAC, so finally wheeling it out. You mentioned how MVP were never opting into the Galio, and there were Galio bans against them. Umti's been working on the ZAC, and cool to see him finally play one of these center meta picks.
Yeah, especially after that first blood was donated over by Zach after what was a bit of a disaster for Jin Air on the top side. So answering back, getting that kill, and getting Teddy ahead is so important for Jin Air. Kuro is going to be a little bird. I actually love that animation when he's trying to take the Crystal Spire.
131st game for Umti, first game of ZAC, so having a bit of a whale of a time. We saw Peanut jump onto the ZAC and look very good in some of his early games. Ended up being very aggressive on the pick, the Peanut way. See if Umti can continue with, so far, a couple of successful ganks.
That was exactly where Peanut found his success as well. The bottom lane gank from downtown was the option that Peanut went for, so Umti certainly has done his research. So doing his best to deal with Keen, but the barrels are starting to do some work as he's 1-1-1. Kill going over to him when Spirit revisited, certainly very important. So yeah, level 7 for Spirit. Second Impale. See whether that one's going to be a good one. Whether it's going to be used on the bottom side.
So far, Jinx just trading farm with Tristana. Both carries probably going to be okay with that. The late game teamfight construction, you might say okay, but it's Galio comp. It's similar to what Afreeca were running in game 2. But the guaranteed nature of the ultimatum, the long range engage of the Zac, and the Galio to pile on, and Alistar even to look for a flank. There's so much engage going on that the reliability here is not as gimmicky as the Nocturne comp was.
Well, there's the Flash Impale in the mid lane. The stuns are going to be layered. And Grace is just having the worst time ever. Saving the Fracture as well, so Spirit could just guarantee that stun after the Impale wears off. Really beautiful stuff, and it just feels oppressive if you're Grace.
Great damage calculation coming through from the Skarner, who's already level 8, already powering up. They know that's probably going to be Rod of Ages onto the Galio, who goes for an early Merc Treads. Definitely something recommended with all the CC, as you outlined. We'll see if it ends up just being an Abyssal Mask, because there is the argument that if Anivia can just stack AP in the early game, she might have more threat onto Galio than many recent picks we've seen in the mid lane.
Yeah, and more immediate power with the Abyssal Mask as well. I mean, if you're in damage control situation, which, you know, Jin Air did get a decent gank on the bottom side, but otherwise, this Skarner really needs to be respected. Maybe go for the item that can give you the power now. Spirit donated a blue buff already over to his mid laner because Grace got the kill. So he's going to be able to grab his one for himself. Spam out those Qs as much as he wants. Clouddrake not going to be opted in for. Let's see Afreeca, no idea. Actually, no. Things go out, they know exactly where Umpty is. They didn't have the ward down there.
They've done some invading for Vision, so with the Raptors being up, you know very clearly that Umpty is looking for a lane gank.
Yep,
They had
Dream
a ward
steal
on the
away
top side
too.
as well. It's one of those things where, with Zac being so good at taking Raptors, he will never skip that camp, so he has to be ganking for them to be up like that.
He's just grabbing everything right now. Hard farming for Umpty though, so he's still doing a great job as far as keeping up with that farm.
Spurs 2-0-3, so this game has
Oh
revolved
yeah, he's
around
still ahead.
him. Probably still going to go full tank. It's probably not going to be cheeky Trinity Force like Ambition was famous for doing back in 2016 on the Skarner.
Yeah, although Spirit has done interesting things like that in the past. Umpty charging up, but that's a great ward. Spirit understanding where you need to be wary of.
Not often you have this much vision in the enemy jungle, but everything invested there to make Umpty accountable at every camp.
Yeah, it feels like somehow Spirit has found a tracker's knife, but he hasn't. Don't worry, guys.
We all know the dream of the champion with the global getting 2 control wards bot side. This is the nightmare where every camp is warded and the Zac and the Galio are going to be seen a mile away and then some. And that is some great ward patterns. It does relieve so much pressure from the bot lane especially.
Yeah, it makes it so lucky for Kramer and Tucson as well, who are a gankable lane. They get on top of Tucson. Can be a problem. And Kramer might actually potentially fall down afterwards as well if they can get all of their AoE. The AoE engage is a huge option.
On that VOD review, Umpty's going to be so depressed at how much time he's spent looking for a counter gank or a gank, and his time spent on vision. That's not a stat we have at OGN, but that is a stat that he's going to be staggeringly high on for patch 8.4 norms, where junglers usually are off the map a lot longer.
Yep, that's precisely why Spirit is able to grab this Rift Herald as well. All too easy. They knew exactly where Umpty was, so of course, that one's going to be donated over, and it's very dark for Jin Air. Anywhere beyond the river, there is no vision whatsoever. Somehow Afreeca could just have all of it. He's just going to man the top lane by the looks of things, try and get himself in with Soan after the teleport has been used, but actually not going to invest it. Jin Air understanding that they want to try and start a big fight at some point soon.
Otherwise, you worry. If you do like your comp at basically every point in the game, and you still have a farm Tristana to potentially take over the game, but you start to get a bit concerned that you haven't been able to find any meaningful advantage with so much engage, and Afreeca just looking to start to crash down turrets. The charge here will do the work, whatever Galio does to the Rift Herald.
Yep, she's just going to march in, smack that one down, all too easy. First turret, going to go over to Afreeca.
Continues to make the Galio extra accountable, as so far he has been completely unable to set up a proactive Hero's Entrance play.
Well, Spirit going to be able to get some value for his sweeper here. A couple of wards are going to be cleared out. Zombies there to replace as well. It becomes very dark in this river. Cloud Drake should melt. Skuro has a fair bit of damage now, 202 himself. Spirit going to be able to tank this one for days, so very easily able to grab the first Drake. 14 minutes in, so not going to be seeing a 5 Drake game or anything like that.
And Keen's up in CS, so we shouldn't be surprised. It's almost a 2,000 gold lead for the Gangplank.
Yeah.
Camille, in particular, finds it hard to deny farm from the GP compared to other top laners because she has to put more points into W, the tactical suite, to trade. Otherwise, he just wins trades with a Q and a Sheen proc whenever she gets into melee range. So actually matches trades with a Camille a lot better than a lot of champions, and then just goes for a second item Sterix and doesn't die to the all-in. So a lot of options there for the GP. Not quite lane control, but lane safety much higher for the GP than other top lane matchups we usually see it.
Yeah, it's the dream situation as well, as Keen got that successful gank after the failed tower dive from his incredibly fed jungler. So on. Of course, not blowing the flash in that gank, but still under a lot of pressure. It's not the same as a lot of the crazy Camille's that we've seen get out of control, especially over the last few days this week. Monty looking for another opportunity. But nope. Keen just playing back. He hasn't been able to find anywhere to get advantages on this map. They managed to get that outer turret in the mid lane, opened it up, and now Monty doesn't have a lot of safe places to be.
He's on such a short leash. It's a fantastic team jungling performance on patch 8.4 against Azak, the sort of thing that should be scrutinized not for the Fiesta top lane that got Afreeca ahead, but how they played after that with their ward coverage. They have always known within one camp, like, do they know if he's on his Gromp or his walls? No, but do they know which quadrant he's in? Yes. They always know what camps are up, and the lanes can play accordingly. Keen hangs back because there's nowhere else could be but topside or ganking topside. And to do this on 8.4 when the vision is ratcheted down a notch is really impressive by Afreeca.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that they've been able to deny a lot of vision as well. You can see Afreeca, like Spirit, moving towards the top side. He's going to be able to grab a second control ward as well. And yes, he's been spotted. They know where he is, but he's going to make it very dark up here. They move towards another Crystal Spire and so on. Cannot be in this lane, giving more time to Keen. It's a layering of positives.
You don't need too many introductions to Jin to know that they're going for their backup win condition of let's get Teddy to 3 items.
Yep.
And 6 in particular, but the first 3 so important with Tristana. Early game, which they comped for extensively, has gone away from them after that turret dive, so at least Tristana's farm is there and she's not being denied, which is the good news story for Jin fans.
Yeah,
and Teddy we trust.
Not behind, but not quite in front as Umti. Okay, they were going to look for the Impale. Elastic Slingshot. Going to go off in time. Underneath the turret. Jin Air, they've lost all of that early power that they had, just given all of the control that had been given over to Afreeca. They do get the stun, as now the wall is actually going to be great for Jin Air, as they do get a bunch of flashes, but Abyssal Voyage once again from Tucson means that Jin Air had to respect.
Straight up losing the top side. Spirit opts into the kidnap, hoping you'll get an ult on the back end. He's that far ahead in terms of tankiness to be able to ignore base damage. And continue to contest the red, and not giving up the Gromp or any of the bot side camps. The Raptors off spawn have been taken by Spirit. They can play so aggressively, and this is probably the sort of game that's not going to inspire Umti to play more on the Zac.
Yeah, debuting it and then, you know, going for that very aggressive early dive, it not working. He had a good first gank on the bottom side of the map if we ignore the top one, but otherwise it's just been a Zac exploited this time around.
And I'm ready for the gold to be shown because Gangplank's going to be just the most ahead in this game.
Yeah, Trinity Force came in very, very quickly, and he's only just going back now. Sterix is completed.
Oh. He just wins the 1v1s now.
Yeah, I think he was already winning the 1v1s.
Yeah, but now you all in and die. You have to... The moment that Camille has to exit her own Hextech Ultimatum first against a Gangplank, you probably wave the white flag and say go next, which in this case is a series loss, and potentially the hope of playoffs loss for Jin Air, so they're going to try and battle it back, but there's the gold. 2,600 at 18 minutes is the gold lead.
God. And that's only a 1-1-1. I mean, You've had these experiences, right, where you're up against some legendary jungler that's destroyed you. Think Peanut back a few days ago. But this isn't that situation. He's just 1-1-1. He shouldn't be that far ahead with its gangplank.
And it's not the composition either, because, you know, Afreeca went weird and wonderful. They took the Jinx, even though there was lots of backline threat. Usually, the Zac alone will probably dissuade you from a Jinx, but they went for it anyway. The Anivia into the Galio can do some punishment in lane, but everything started with the failed gank top lane, and then the amount of control they could get in terms of map pressure to make the Zac completely irrelevant allows all the lanes to know exactly when to push up. And that means that Kramer has had a whale of a time bot lane, Gangplank is winning top side. One failed gank started all of this, and now only extending the game to 35-40 minutes can turn it around, because that play did lose Jynez so much pressure.
Now 6,000 gold is the lead. It just feels like that late game is a dream, a pipe dream that is not happening anytime soon. And the Afreeca Freecs, if they showed us anything in game one, is that they can finish games. They've showed us so many times, in fact. And they're continuing to put on the pressure. Can have clawed back the bottom side of the map, but that's because the focus for Afreeca Freecs has been on the top side. A 20-minute Baron on spawn is going to come down as Sohan slowed up by Keen, but Afreeca Freecs, they are going to be spotted, but Cannon Barrage, it's going to stop them from getting in, and Spirit is going to lock this one up. Speaking of being locked up, Sohan's dead, and it's going to be Kuro that grabs the kill. Afreeca Freecs all coordinating their backs, and it's beautiful play at 20 minutes to get them a Baron.
Just walk over, they didn't even need Abyssal Voyage to show that they were going to go for the Baron. They walked up to it, they knew there was no jungle control, but Jynez on the top side take down the Baron. Great calculation. They knew Zac was out of position. Jynez will try to rush to an Infernal. Even Afreeca Freecs are ahead of that objective as well.
Yep, already moved over. Tucson, you mentioned the Abyssal Voyage. He's going to use that to get Kramer over there. No dregs to be picked up. Afreeca are not letting them have anything at all. Maybe the statement, there's nothing worse than an Afreeca scorned, because they may have felt silly after game two. Game three is a masterclass in controlling your opponent.
And maybe the new team that has a jungler you have to draw out is Afreeca Freecs. That was the SKT narrative, right? They would start Peanut even when he was struggling, and Blank would be there as a closer. I know that sounds crazy. I mean, new fans, but that was exactly how they found most of their advantages at SKT in 2017. Now Spirit is happy to take a backseat. Mowgli gets too excited, and speaking of excitement, Jinx starts to run away with bot lane.
Yeah, Elastic Slingshot doesn't find anything. Umti, in fact, just going to go into auto range of Kramer. He's very safe. Super Mega Death Rocket flies in as Tucson gets the Flash Devour. Will be able to spit out the Zac, but it's just Bloblets. He chewed him too much. And the Cow's going to go down as well. This will be another turret, and Afreeca are still winning on the top side as well.
Of course they are. It's Baron buff, and the Gangplank was already winning trades. Everyone on the side of Afreeca just stays in the Zac ultimate and says, thanks for the gap close, mate.
Yeah.
And they keep fighting. Speaking of fighting.
Yeah, Sohan is going to use that Hextech ultimatum, and Heroic Entrance comes in, so Grace is going to hang out. But you can see Keen, he's more than happy just to be here as well. There's no damage on this Galio, and Afreeca Freecs in the meantime are taking inhibitor turrets. The inhibitor's going to go. It's 22.5 minutes in this game, and I can see Afreeca are probably just going to win right now.
Going for the fastest game of the season, Atlas.
Yeah, they're looking for it. A minute to go before they can get that record, and Kramer is using that minigun to great effect. Oh, God. Keen is so huge. Now on the front line is the Gangplank. The flash out from Umti, that's not what he wants. And look at all of this damage. Wraith is going to fall as well. It's Kramer that finally gets one. And this is the Nexus now falling down. Before 23 minutes, it just ticks over, and the Nexus will go down. The fastest game in the LCK this season, and Afreeca get it in game three.
They obliterated Jynez as a thank you for forcing the game three. Wonderful performance by Kuro on the roam top lane, but Spirit was the man who was playing with the yo-yos. He was the marionette person playing 5 people at the same time. They were in full control, big smiles. They roll the dice with some crazy picks. We get one-offs of Nocturne, of Jinx, of Anivia. The latter two in the same game, and they all work a treat. And Afreeca Freecs, they may find themselves unable to hit first spot. If we do see a 2-0 win for Kingzone, they are guaranteed first because it is a 2-1 win for Afreeca. But it feels like a 2-0 because the 2 games they won were close to perfect.
Absolute obliteration 23 minutes on the dot for Afreeca Freecs Game 3. We saw Spirit going into that game. Gigantic grin. He was having a giggle, making jokes with his team. We come out at the end, and he looks exactly the same. Jovial was the man. And you don't want to see that. You look across to the other side of the room if you're Jin Air. You see that big grin, and you get scared. Afreeca Freecs dominant right now, holding on to that second place. KT Rolster desperately wanting to turn that one around. There's a chance that somehow a KSV is going to come out of nowhere and force them into that game. They feel like the kryptonite. They want to have a buffer. They want to put someone between them.
Isn't it insane? The team with Gangplank, Anivia, and Jinx won the fastest game of the season. 3 scaling champions.
Yeah, true.
They were still able to just overpower, and Jin Air looked like someone stole their lunch money because they have no idea what happened to them. Such was the destruction. This means that Jin Air are now very unlikely to be able to make it to the playoffs. They may even be mathematically eliminated. Wait for the schedule graphic to confirm that.
No, not quite yet. They can catch the Rocks Tigers to want to get themselves in there. 4th place, no longer possible. They can't eclipse KSV, no matter what KSV does.
They need to beat Kingzone and beat Rocks to make that happen,
Oh,
though.
yes.
So very, very unlikely for Jin Air. Close, but no cigar when it came to their playoff race, you'd have to think. For Afreeca Freecs, they're still dreaming about Busan and their first ever LCK final.
Yeah, they're dreaming about, you know, their first playoff match being a final as well, because it could still potentially happen. A lot of stars needing to align, but of course, still an option here for the Afreeca Freecs. It's looking like a semifinals berth, though, this time into the gauntlet, because second place looks very, very capable now. As it's going to be difficult for KT Rolster. Speaking of which, we are going to see them straight after what will be a 20-minute break before getting into that one.
So probably be about 15 to 20 minutes late on the 8 p.m. intended start.
I think Kane had a good game.
You know, he was over 10,000 gold ahead of a Camille, so that's pretty good.
Oh my goodness.
Some of the damage numbers comically small because the game was so short.
15,000 gold lead at 23 minutes is probably one of the biggest that we've ever seen.
It was with Gangplank, Anivia, and Jinx.
And Skarner that we've seen be so 50-50 here in the LCK.
There was just so much to love about Afreeca after pick and ban. The pick and ban, I think, was optimistic. It worked out, so of course they looked fantastic. What do I know? The MVP here, it's going to be Spirit because he ran this game basically on his own in the early game. Smart moves, smart rotations, not the Anivia. Kuro will feel hard done by, but a clean performance by Spirit on his substituted in game because he watched on game 1, saw Mowgli steal away his trusty Nocturne in game 2, and then he got to play Skarner, and boy did he ever.
And there's the flash from Kuro. Managed to get that first blood kill for Spirit. He started this one off 2-0 to begin the game, and that honestly felt like all she wrote from that point on.
We couldn't have known to this degree, though. I agree there was the sinking feeling when they got the 3rd kill. This is Kuro saying...
yeah, this was the 3-0.
I'm back again. This time I have tier.
Yeah.
And they got the 3 kills extended there, and from there went top lane. He had level 6 before his ally top laner had it, so just able to pick up the kill very trivially, and Keen got 6 from that. And then Keen ran away with top lane. He ganked every lane, damage calculations on point onto the Galio as well. Yeah,
the CC layering one over the top of the other. Nothing that the Galio could do, no flash available, and here Kramer, I mean, you're a Zac. You're supposed to be a Zac, Umpty, but couldn't even get on top of one of the more mobile AD carries.
Tristan didn't do a lot of peeling this series on the Tahm Kench.
Nope. He was a hungry, hungry catfish.
He got his feed, for sure. He had a lot of free meals in this game, and then it ended at 23 minutes. Immaculate stuff from Afreeca. Just a auto attack kills the Stunner in rocket jump. That's
yeah, King gets a barrel and then flash 2 autos and he's dead.
This is what a gold lead looks like. This is what a top team looks like. Congratulations, Afreeca. You're ready to go for those playoffs.
Yeah, and it's so exciting that we now get to see the other 2 top teams here in the LCK. But before that, we are going to go to the MVP interview with Tucson and Spirit, so take it away, Joe.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joe with your interview translation for today. With all these exciting picks coming from Afreeca, we didn't know what to expect, but for Afreeca Freecs, it meant a very quick victory for these guys. As we do see them pick up a very nice 2-1 victory. We're here to talk with the MVPs for the game. An explosive showing by both of you guys today. How do you feel about the win?
조금 1라운드에 좀 졌던 상대라서 조금
I mean, first round robin, we lost against these guys, so we kind of had a little bit of fear, but also at the same time, a little need for focus in order to close out this win with the win. It's very, I mean, you just look tired, but you're definitely, your gameplay was not any reflection of you being tired. I know I had a pretty bad cold that I had to try to recover back from, and I think it was kind of a struggle in the end to get this to work out. And coach, you also look very nervous to yourself.
안녕하세요. 아프리카 프릭스 코치 임혜성입니다.
Coach Lim from Afreeca Freecs.
네, 오늘 경기 코치님 입장에서는 뭐
For you, coach, how was the games? When you score out of 10,
10점 만점에 한 8점 정도.
I think both games that we won, we do get an 8 out of 10 for our performance today. Of course, losing out game 2 lets these guys have a little more room to improve. Let's talk about game 1 just a little bit. We saw Tom Kench in itself as you immerse yourself into that champion himself.
바로 2단으로 출장을 가는 그 장면 굉장히
I actually
인상적이었어요.
saw that, the play that you guys could have won out in the first effort, but you guys went in for the second time to win out that fight.
잘 버텨봐 했는데 좀
We were trying to tell each other to tank the turret shots just as much as they can, and all these ganks that were coming through. Important for us to defend it out for a longer time.
좀 단단하잖아요. 그래가지고
Tom Kench can be very tanky, so it's very reliable in cases like these when you have to defend out some of the damage that's coming in. So he was trying to kill me, so I did the opposite, of killing him instead with Tom Kench.
저희는 대기실에서 보고 있었을 때
When we were looking from the screen, the back room, but I was kind of wondering why the ultimate came through, but I think Tucson definitely had a good idea of what to do as he went in very aggressively for that play.
감탄하셨잖아요. 그래서 1세트는 사실 운영에서도 그렇고
For game 1, just leading to macro, and also the kind of individual players have been very good, but game 2 was a little bit of confusion when we did see the Nocturne, but what was the thought process when you came out with that champion in particular?
네, 뭐 저희는 항상 정글에서 다영이가 예전에도 말했는데
We always say that in the jungle, I think we do have, especially with Spirit, he has 40 champions that he can play by all by himself, and it wasn't something that was supposed to be just funny or entertaining, but it was something that we felt fit the composition very well. And I think if it was a situation where the Skarner didn't get the kill that early, I think it was a situation where we could have gotten a lot better with the Nocturne pick.
나쁘지 않았던 것 같아요.
I don't think it was a bad performance overall, though.
픽을 보면은 어떻게 보면 다소 그 정형화돼 있다기보다는 항상 좀 그렇죠.
We always feel that Afreeca Freecs as an organization is one of those teams that allow a little more freedom in allowing these diverse picks in different lanes.
LCS를 좋아하고.
I'm a big fan of LCS,
LCS를 보면은
but when I do watch LCS, I get a lot of invigoration to what can be played and what can be meta.
한타 구도 자체가 좋아 보이는.
And whenever we talk about kind of composition that lead to good team fights, it ends up being a very much of a diverse picking solution for a lot of these champions that we have available for our players. And since our head coach is very, very open to many different ideas, it allows us to really be experimental in the way we kind of pick out our composition.
어쨌든 나중에도 충분히 나올 수 있을 만한 그런 카드다라는 말씀해 주셨고 사실 이 3세트가
Of course, game 3 was a kind of a signature of what Afreeca is supposed to represent, and something that was beyond unique of what we saw in game 2 was game 3 with the Jinx and with the Navia as well. And you just felt like the closing picture when you came in for that win on game 3. I mean, the head coach just told me to just get out and get ourselves a win, and so that kind of comment, it was kind of a light one, but it was pretty heavy in myself that I had to carry the responsibility of getting the win. Of course, Navia and Jinx, what was the story behind that?
여러 가지 가지고 있는데.
We do have so many picks left available that we haven't played yet, and there just happen to be 2 of the picks. And of course, LCA gave us a little bit of kind of motivation to play some of these champions. And I don't know if he's going to transfer over to LCS anytime soon as a new coach in one of those teams, but we talk about different team environments. of different teams. And
아무래도 LCK는 좀 정형화된 좀 약간 문제집 같은 답이 정해져 있는.
it just feels like LCK kind of expects kind of more of a strict kind of pool of champions that you can choose from, but our team tries to be different in the fact that we can play these diverse picks and tries to make a unique stance as a team compared to the other teams around the league. And it seems like you know, a lot of the players in Afreeca Freecs right now are so mechanical in the fact that they are very try to go for the perfection. I think our head coach really does kind of emphasize the foundation and having a strong base that allows us to build up on those things. And when our players kind of work on that foundation so much, it allows us to be mechanically very talented. And those are the things that gives us an edge, I think, compared to the other teams out there. And of course, with Spirit in Game 3, we do have a lot of the highlights that we can choose from. And this was kind of what started it all. I shouldn't have went home, and I knew I was trying to make up for it, and all these things did work out, and especially with NV coming in was very significant here. I want to ask you about Skarners. Is it a good pick or is it a bad pick? It's the kind of the question that comes through. What do you think about that champion? I mean, if it comes out to be a Skarner from Game 3, it's a good pick, but when it comes out into some of the other games, it's not a good pick. I think situationally it can be a top tier pick, but depending on how it's used, it can be a very wary pick to choose from. We felt like the kind of the clinching order of Game 3 was the Baron call near the end. I mean, Kuro has a great mind for that and great eyes for really calling out the correct Baron calls, and none of us really thought Baron was an option there, but Kuro definitely saw an angle where getting a Baron right there was good for us, and we just kind of followed his leadership in the fact we just tried to follow along, and we got so much out of it. Really, you guys were kind of just more excited about getting the kills rather than the objectives near the end because you guys were so far ahead. But let's talk about the kind of remaining games that you guys have. And with remaining games, how do you feel about your results coming up? We want to always try our best, and we do try to take out one by one, and if we're lucky, hopefully we can win all of it. Anything let's say to the players? I know that our players are working really hard, and just feel like everybody's so dedicated to making this team great. We don't have much time left, so you know, I want to ask the players to keep exerting that effort so that we can have a great rest of the season. Tusin, anything you'd like to say to the fans for the remaining games ahead? Do have about 3 games, but if we are to go to first, we have to kind of expect Kingzone to help us out a little bit, but altogether it's in our shoes to really put up a good performance, so we're going to try to keep asking for your support so that we end of the season well. First of all, our brothers at Kingzone, we ask you that you lose all the games from now on, and that will help us be a happy team once the season does come to a conclusion. Coach, anything you'd like to add on with a lot of confidence, if you can add on to that? For me, you know, I don't see Kingzone realistically losing most of their games, but we still ask for a little bit of mercy in the end. So it's a lot of favors going over to Kingzone, but not much favors needed for this team with Afreeca Freecs showing very good performances left and right. And that's going to be the end of the interview. Sending it back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Joel. And Afreeca Freecs, it's MVP, BBQ, and KT are their last remaining series that they have to play. So feeling pretty good about 2 of them, but KT could give them a run for their money on, what is it, one of the last days of the season.
Yeah, right down the end of the season, like you mentioned. Cool to hear from Comet, who used to be a coach on junior Greenwings before jumping over to Afreeca Freecs for this season. clearly has done some good work with Zephyr and I Love Uve, bringing Afreeca Freecs to become one of these top teams. They now move to 11 match wins. They are not mathematically guaranteed to miss the wild card, but it feels like they almost are, Atlas, and this is a team that has always been in that 4th, 5th spot, never been able to win a wild card match. They've never played a best of 5 in the postseason. It has always been that best of 3. Well played to them, but this is the big match in about 20 minutes. Kingzone Dragon X against KT could be a preview of our season grand final.
Yeah, it could be the season grand final unless Afreeca Freecs continue on their incredible run of form that they've been showing us. KT Rolster now to get revenge for what was a very quick 2-0 that Kingzone put forward last time these two teams met. What has changed, Papa Smithy, and is there any change in the roster?
We get to find out, and that's the hype thing.
Yep, I'm super psyched about it, guys. So yes, exactly as Papa said, it's only about a 20-minute break. We had some quick games. It's still going to be relatively on time, but then we are going to have KT versus Kingzone, so we'll see you there. Coming up next, Kingzone Dragon X, KT Rolster, beginning of the end. 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Spring Split.